Expressors, hey, hey, hey. We are back with another Walk Through the Bible episode, and it is one that you don't want to miss.
Okay, y'all. I know you are feeling as though you are getting a front row seat to our beauty treatment, but it ties in with today's topic. So don't be alarmed. You haven't stumbled onto the wrong video. It's still us. So just get ready.
We are going to journey through the life of a young woman named Esther. You ever heard of her? If so, then this will be a refresher. If not, take a seat and let's unravel her story.
The story of Esther, found in the book of Esther in the Old Testament, is a captivating tale of courage, faith, and God's providence.
The book of Esther takes place during the time when the Jewish people were in exile in Persia. Esther, a young Jewish woman, finds herself in a remarkable position as she becomes the queen of King Xerxes Ahasuerus. However, she initially keeps her Jewish heritage a secret.
Now, y'all, Esther had to go through a beauty regimen to even get into the king's presence. Can you imagine being a young girl and having to get fixed up for a strange man? A king at that. Esther 2:12 says, before a young woman's turn came to go to the king Xerxes, she had to complete 12 months of beauty treatments prescribed for women, 6 months with oil of myrrh, and 6 with perfumes and cosmetics. Esther had to go through all of this, risking her life to save her people, the Jews.
The lesson from the story of Esther revolves around God's sovereignty and the importance of courageously standing up for what is right, even in the face of great danger. The story unfolds when Haman, a powerful official in the king's court, devises a plan to annihilate all the Jews in the kingdom. Haman's hatred stems from his conflict with Mordecai, Esther's cousin, who refuses to bow down to him due to his loyalty to God.
When Mordecai learns of Haman's plot, he urges Esther to intercede with the king to save their people. At first, Esther hesitates, knowing that approaching the king without being summoned could result in her death. But Mordecai reminds her that perhaps she had been placed in her position of influence for such a time as this.
Esther displays remarkable courage and faith. She fasts and prays, asking the Jewish people to join her in seeking God's favor. Then, risking her life, she approaches the king, revealing her Jewish heritage and pleading for her people's lives.
God's providence is evident throughout the story. The king extends his scepter, indicating his acceptance of Esther, and she finds favor in his sight. Through a series of events orchestrated by God, Haman's evil plot is exposed, and he ends up facing the consequences he had planned for the Jews.
The story of Esther teaches us several valuable lessons. It demonstrates that God can use individuals, even those in seemingly insignificant positions, to accomplish great things. It also reminds us of the importance of courageously standing up for justice and righteousness, even when it involves personal risk.
Esther's story emphasizes the significance of seeking God's guidance through prayer and fasting in times of difficulty and decision-making. It illustrates the power of God's providence, working behind the scenes to bring about His purpose.
Overall, the story of Esther is a powerful reminder that God is present and active in our lives, even when His hand may not be immediately apparent. It encourages us to trust in His sovereignty, to boldly stand up for what is right, and to rely on prayer and seeking His guidance in all circumstances.
In the story of Esther, God's intervention to stop the plot against the Jews is portrayed through a series of events that unfold as the narrative progresses. Here are some key ways in which God acted to thwart the plot.
Esther's favor. God granted Esther favor in the sight of King Xerxes. When Esther approached the king without being summoned, risking her life, the king extended his golden scepter to her, signifying his acceptance and granting her the opportunity to speak. This divine favor allowed Esther to make her plea for her people.
Mordecai's discovery. God orchestrated events so that Mordecai, Esther's cousin, overheard a plot to assassinate the king. He reported it to Esther, who informed the king on his behalf This act of loyalty by Mordecai played a crucial role in the unfolding of God's plan.
Haman's downfall. Haman, the antagonist who sought to annihilate the Jews, ultimately faced his own downfall. Through a sequence of events orchestrated by God, including a turn of events where the king honored Mordecai instead of Haman, Haman's wickedness was exposed. This led to his eventual demise and the reversal of his evil plot.
The king's decree. Through the king's authority, a new decree was issued that allowed the Jews to defend themselves against their enemies. This effectively countered Haman's initial decree to annihilate the Jewish people. This change in the law provided an opportunity for the Jews to stand up against their adversaries and be protected.
As you can see, we have removed our face masks and our ponchos to represent how Esther went from a young woman in training to a powerful queen who was ready to see her people free.
Also, we want to add that Esther was being prepared especially during this time for something remarkable. Mordecai, Esther's cousin and guardian, spoke to her saying this: "Do not think that because you are in the king's house, you alone of all the Jews will escape. For if you remain silent at this time, relief and deliverance for the Jews will arise from another place, but you and your father's family will perish. And who knows but that you have come to your royal position for such a time as this."
While the book of Esther does not explicitly mention God's name or direct miraculous interventions, his presence and guidance are evident throughout the story. The timing, circumstances, and outcomes are orchestrated in such a way that God's providential hand is evident in preserving his people.
The story of Esther serves as a reminder that even when God is not explicitly mentioned, his sovereignty is at work, orchestrating events to bring about his purpose. The deliverance of the Jews in the story reflects God's faithfulness and his commitment to protecting his people, even in challenging and dire circumstances.
Thank y'all for tuning in to another Walk Through the Bible episode. We hope it blessed you as it did us. Feel free to like, comment, and share. Till next time.